Hey, this is Phil from Race City Retro, and today I'm out in the garage building things. You know, I've been building models since I'm a kid. We've already had this discussion. 50 years. I'm building models 50 years. I've painted 1,000 of them, and I never had a paint booth. I see all these fancy falutin $150, $200 paint booths online. Nah, that's not my style. Today we're going to build a paint booth with some stuff that I basically went to Home Depot. I grabbed a buggy or a shopping cart, whatever you call it, wherever you're from. Walked up and down the aisles, grabbed a few things I thought would make a good paint booth. Let's you and me put this thing together and see if we can paint some model cars in it. All right, so first things first, the booth. I found this tub with lid. I think it was about 10 bucks. Looked like it'd be a great size. And then I thought about filtration. It's always good to have some type of filtration in a booth, just like in a real spray booth. So I got the smallest filter you can get for an air conditioning system, but it's big for this. It works out perfect for this. And this too was only like, I think it was about 5-6 bucks. So we're probably in this thing about 15 bucks already. These are optional. These are LED lights. If you want LED lights, you can put them in. You don't have to have LED lights, but it'll really help you see what you're seeing. That's the thing about paint. That's why paint booths for real cars are lit up like daytime, because you want to see what's going where. So these were like 20 bucks, but you don't need these. You could still get the job done with this. Now I thought, all right, on the back of this booth, we got to put something to catch the fumes. So I found this smaller tub, and this too was like maybe 5 bucks. And what I'm thinking about doing is mounting this to the back of the booth and running this filter through it so that I could easily pull these out and swap them. And one step further, I said, you know, what if I cut a hole in this, hook my shop vac up to it so it's got a constant suck where it's going to suck the air through the filter to grab the paint particles, and just let normal air out of the back of the shop vac so we're not blowing paint fumes all over the garage. I think that's the direction I'm going in. It's got the same principle as a downdraft boot. So to do the vacuum thingies, I got this head. I'm going to try skinny just the hose, but if I need a bigger area to suck more air in, we could hook this up. If not, I could just return that. I got a couple fittings and elbows. That would be for the vacuum. This is like for the head. If I use the head, hook the vacuum up to it. We'll figure this out as we go. And I got a tube of Gorilla Glue. I don't know if I'm going to be able to mount that back tub on to the back of this thing, or if I have to glue it. If I can bolt it, I'll bolt it. If I have to glue it, I'll glue it. But here's what I'm thinking. You got a lot of area. It comes up diagonally, not like a straight, just so you got that almost like a theater type, an amphitheater type roof, so you can see the top of what you're painting. And you got a lot of area if you want to lay out some parts. You could also put a board in here if you want to remove it, but this stuff will clean up pretty easy too. It's plastic, it's real slick. We're going to wash all that out with Simple Green too and get all the oil off it. Anytime anything plastic is in a mold, it's always got to release oil. We want to clean all that out before we actually use this, but let's build it before we get to that. All right, so here's the back of the booth. This is my secondary exhaust chamber. Let's trace this out to get an idea of what we're going to need to remove from the booth itself. And before you make any cuts on the back of the booth. And you're not going to want to cut as big as this tub, because then it's not going to really leave anything for this tub to grab onto. We just want to do a somewhat loose outline of where this tub is going to sit. All right, I got a little light there, but that's okay. Don't worry, I'm an artist. And what I wouldn't do, Actually, maybe it's all right. If you take these ribs out, these ribs are what gives it strength. So maybe you just take these out. But I don't know. I think we'll be all right. If I drill a hole, you could probably, maybe we'll leave this lip. We'll come in a little over an inch and take that center section out. And we'll leave the outside so it's got good rigidity for strength, because you don't want this thing all soggy and falling in. All right, it's about to get real up in here. Let's start our cuts. Oh, wait, wrong knife. Hold on, I grabbed the wrong knife. Give me a second. There we go. This stuff is pretty thin. Usually you can, let's say, oh no, wait, I take that back. We're gonna need, wow, is that strong? And that's a brand new blade. All right, let's get something with some power to knock that out. All right, whenever you're gonna make a cut, like an internal cut like this, you need some place to get your jigsaw through. So what you're gonna wanna do is get yourself a drill bit bigger than the jigsaw blade, put it on the line. That'll give you your spot to get your blade in and get rolling. All right, let's get jiggy with it. You knew I was gonna say that. I mean, come on. Boy, that thing's shattering like crazy. That's the wrong stroke. Holy mackerel. Wow. Nice clean cut, jigsaw. What the heck happened there? Well, looks like it's time for a new tub. All right, let's see. We should still be able to work with it because I left enough meat on it. That's a new blade too. Yowza, look at that. Shark's tooth cut. Man, I don't know what the heck. But that's why I said to leave this, because now at least you got enough meat. I'll clean that up, but at least you got enough meat now to get this thing affixed to it. All right, let me clean that shark's tooth edge. Okay, this thing is some kind of weird plastic. I guess it's hard so it doesn't shatter, but it's soft so it flexes, but we'll get it done. All right, I could safely say that's the first time I've ever cut a storage tub in my life. I don't know if many people who have. That jagged edge, I chased it with the death wheel. I should have just used this right from the start, saving you guys the trouble. Use this instead of a jigsaw. The jigsaw, the vibration, I'm guessing, just shatters the edge, whereas this, the heat actually puts a nice rolled edge on it. So I just cleaned it up with that so that we don't have no sharp edges in there. Now I'm going to set this box up next, because this is the one we're going to mount to hold the filter. And I just cut a little edge in there, but really what I'm going to do, I'm going to slot this. See where the filter's on that edge. I'm going to just put my line and put my line. And I'm going to slot like this lower inch across there now on both sides. Because then once this is mounted, you have a place where you could slide the filter in. And then what I'll do is after I mount this, I'll just come in with some silicone and just run a bead around it just to seal it up really nice once everything's tightened. I'll probably just use some screws or something to hold that in place. All right, let me make these end cuts and we'll see how that looks, and then we'll work on getting this mounted. And then on the back of this, we're gonna hook up our vacuum, either on the back or maybe on the side. We'll set up our vacuum fittings to hook the shop vac. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm creating an area where the filter will sit down in the booth. This box will create a nice convection where it's gonna suck the paint fumes out. I said suck. All right, so I notched this tub out on both sides. So When it comes time to change the filter, you just either side, pull it out, you got a little extra, push the new one in, or flip this over if you're going to get a little extra more miles out of it. And that's it. Just cut it. I cleaned up the edges a little. I used the whizzer wheel this time because forget about the jigsaw, forget about a razor blade, neither one. Cleaned it up with this thing. What are these things called, man? I always wanted one. They were ridiculously expensive, and then this Christmas they had this thing for like 89 bucks. Sander on a stick, small belt sander. They were great, man, especially on this stuff. Sands beautiful. So that's what I cleaned up in there. Let me figure out how I'm going to mount this. Let me get this baby mounted, and we'll go over that next. I got this baby mounted. Instead of using nuts and bolts and this and that, I just used some old-fashioned aluminum pop rivets with my rivet gun, which worked out great because I can move that around where I wanted it. Aluminum pop rivets. Worst good when you're sandwiching like plastic together. I had plastic rivets too, but the plastic rivets have a huge head on where these fit down perfect in that groove. So this is connected. I was going to silicone this, but I've got this brand new roll of Gorilla Tape. I guess it's like duct tape, but it's supposed to be super sticky. I'm just going to seal it up all around like that to not let anything get out of the booth. And then we'll start working on the vent. But now this thing's ready. When you got to change this, slide it out, slide a new one in. And then we're going to we'll figure out our hose attachment to set the shop vac up to it. But let me clean this up. I want to clean this bench up, all this plastic scrap. And then I'm going to stick this around to seal it. So that it's sealed up. Rather than put silicone, have to wait for it to dry. I want to paint, man. I want to paint something in this thing tonight. So I want to get this thing ready to rock and roll. All right, next we're going to set the air intake up to set the shop vac up. So I got this little rubber plumbing fitting. It had 2 hose clamps on it. Naturally, we're going to take the one off. This doesn't have to be like where you put the shop vac. No, just stick it in and it works fine. The suction of the vacuum will hold in it and it fits it perfect. I even had to put a little slit in it just to get it on there. And I'm going to grease this, maybe some dielectric grease so the thing goes in and out. So what I want to do, easy way to hook this up, I'm going to take my hole saw that's basically the same size as this. I'm going to drill this in there. You see the step? I'm going to put the top piece through, and then I'll put like a hose clamp or something just to hold it from dropping in. It's not going to pull through this way because this piece is much bigger, but we don't want it to drop in. We want it where you could just plug your hose in, flip the vacuum on, and start painting. So let me drill this hole in here, and we'll see how this mounts up. Hole's been drilled with my hole saw. Push the rubber fitting through. Put the clamp on it that was previously on the top of this because we're not going to hose clamp the vacuum in. It's just going to slide in and out. And I threw a couple other wire ties, zip ties on it to keep it in there really good, but it's not going nowhere. It flexes the whole top. I put my Gorilla Tape around the outside. Man, it seals up beautiful. This is some dynamite tape. A lot nicer than duct tape. This reminds me of Barabond, which is, I believe that's what it's called, if I'm remembering properly, which is used in NASCAR. When a car gets hit and it can go back out on the track, it comes in sheets, this stuff, and you stick it on a fender to like hold it back together so the guy can finish the race. Very much like that. Very heavy, very flexible, seals up really nice. So glad I did it this way instead of silicone. I'm even going to flip this over. I'm going to do the inside of this edge with it as well. And then our filter goes in and out of there. We'll get the vacuum hooked up to this thing and give it a try. Let's see if it sucks or if it sucks. All right, so let's see how we did here. I put a little extra Gorilla Tape on the inside there just to seal a little of the gaps off, make it as tight as I could possibly make it. And you got to realize too with this, with the suction, you don't want this thing that it's going to suck the model into the filters, that much suction. If it'll hold a sheet of paper to it, that's enough suction. So now around the back, I hooked up my shop vac to the other chamber. And let's turn this on and let's give it a try. Here's my paper. How do we do? I hear it, man. It sounds great. And there you have it. If it'll hold the paper, that's more than enough suction. Actually, I can feel it too. You hear it? So that's doing its thing. That's exactly what you're trying to accomplish here. You're trying to get as much as the overspray out of here, and when the model gasses out, it's taking the fumes out of there as well. All right, let's shut this vacuum. Yeah, so we've accomplished what we tried to accomplish there. Yay! And this whole thing, I got peanuts in it. If I don't put the lights in it, I don't even think I got $40 in it, maybe $30. And look at the size. You can put a lot of stuff in there, and you can modify it further. You know, you can put a platform in here. You could use the lid off that thing. That came with the bathtub, right? You could put that down to put, let's say, you know, put your model in the middle. You could put a piece of wood in the bottom. You could put some hangers in the top if you want to put some eyelets to hang stuff from. It's a good size. When I saw the boots online, they're very small. I'd rather have something bigger where I have room to work on my stuff than where I'm going to have to paint in shifts. If I could lay out everything I got to lay out in the one booth and paint it once, much better. So there you have it, man. That's just a cheap paint booth. Maybe I'll call this video that. How to build a cheap paint booth in minutes. I think it took me 20 minutes to put the whole thing together. And don't forget, guys, when you cut these things, don't use a jigsaw. Jigsaw shatters this stuff. I guess it's made to be flexible, but it's made to be brittle. It's too brittle for a jigsaw. Just use your whizzer wheel. Don't use a sheetrock knife either. Be careful with your cuts, man. Don't get hurt when you do it. But it's got a nice depth to it. Look at that. Could fit some models in there, man. And if you do military cars, I mean, that'll fit a car like it's nothing. And the angle of the top I like, because see, I can get to the roof. If this thing was straight out, you kind of shelter in the roof where you can't see it good. But I may put the LEDs in it. The LEDs are an upgrade, a $20 upgrade. But there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out all my other model car videos. I'm building a Dodge truck, and I believe that's going to be the first one I'm going to paint in this thing tonight. So if you're following my Dodge truck build, you will see this booth in action for the very first time. Thanks, guys. Be sure to check out our website too, racecityretro.com.